The truth is out there. Knowledge is power. This is the Prepper Podcast Radio Network.
Are you sick and tired of having your First Amendment harassed or censored on Facebook? Use no more, as we now have a new alternative to Facebook. It's called Awareness Act. Awareness Act is a social network designed for patriots, to be used by patriots, and is ran by patriots. Stand up and help in the fight to protect your constitutional rights. Patriots can create pages, blogs, videos, documents, articles, and so much more. We even have a unique news feed system that allows you to share, read, or connect with any patriot on Awareness Act. We are a dedicated tool for patriots to use against the tyranny our Constitution is facing. So if you're tired of having your rights infringed upon, come check us out at www.awarenessact.com. Again, that is www.awarenessact.com, the social network for patriots, not potatoes.
Whether you take me for the fool, I know that I can be. Whether you see me eye to eye.
The new Be Prepared for Christmas package from Sun Ovens contains everything you need to harness the power of the sun for cooking, water, and dehydrating. The perfect gift for the preppers or outdoor enthusiast on your shopping list. A sun oven uses the sun's power to bake, boil, or steam food, heat water for purification or personal hygiene, or solar dehydrate. When you use the sun's power on sunny days, you preserve your fuel storage for rainy days. Sun-baked foods retain moisture, have less shrinkage, and do not burn. Sun-baked roasts are tastier and more succulent, and sun-baked bread has unparalleled taste and texture. The new Be Prepared for Christmas package lets you roast an 18-pound turkey. For the past 26 years, Sun Ovens has been proudly made in the U.S., are durable, and have a long life and come with a 100% satisfaction guarantee. Don't be fooled by cheap imitations. For a discount coupon, visit sunoven.com/podcast. That's sunoven.com/podcast.
Have you ever wanted to generate your own supply of electrical power, even save money on your electric bill? If so, this is going to be the most important message you will ever hear. Solar power generators are now available. These emergency backup systems provide life-saving electrical power when you need it most. Unlike gas generators, a solar generator runs quietly, emits no fumes, and produces electricity from the sun. It's like having an electric power plant running quietly in your own home. Run sump pumps, shortwave radios, computers, and even keep your food from spoiling. Whether it's hurricanes, ice storms, brownouts, or blackouts, you'll never suffer through painful power outages again. And here's the best news, a remarkable fall truckload sale going on right now that gets you $1,700 in bonuses when you buy a solar generator. To find out why solar generators are the best generators and get $1,700 for doing so, go to falltruckloadsale.com. That's falltruckloadsale.com. Generate your own supply of electricity. Go to falltruckloadsale.com. That's falltruckloadsale.com.
This is KPRN-DB, broadcasting worldwide from Southeast Oklahoma, USA, to parts unknown.
This is where Sun Tzu and MacGyver meet the Waltons. I know you can do it. I know you can prep for yourself and for your family. I believe in you. Crisis strikes, you need to reach down and check to see if you got the big boy or big girl underwear on, because you know what, you're going to have to be an adult and you're going to have to step up to the plate because you've got people depending on you. And good evening, ladies and gentlemen. James Smith, the Covert Prepper with the Covert Prepper Show. So all information provided tonight is for entertainment purposes or for post-apocalyptic uses, but tonight I think you can use it before something bad happens. In fact, you probably should. Why? Well, because your life may depend upon it. Now, I want to apologize for, well, let me do my intro first. Who am I? I am a former U.S. Navy enlisted sailor and former prison corrections officer for medium and minimum security inmates. I was a covert disability insurance fraud investigator for several years, and I currently work for a company that provides support to the disabled. No, I am not some big, hulking kind of guy that can handle or throw around inmates. I treat people with respect because that's the way I expect to be treated. This is where Sun Tzu and MacGyver meet the Waltons. This is thinking outside the box in order to get some survival done. Basically put, if you want to know how to hide your stuff, talk to me. If you want to learn how to do something different, out of the ordinary, unusual, I'm so your man. Trust me on that. The Twitter name is @CovertPrepper. The blog is thecovertprepper.com. And you can reach me, James @thecovertprepper.com. And the YouTube channel is The Covert Prepper. You can listen to the live feed 24/7 by calling 786-837-2278 or visit prepperpodcast.com, and it will play upon arrival at the website. Now, what is tonight about? I want to apologize about not being around for the last 2 weeks because, believe it or not, one, it's a holiday season, and I do love my wife dearly, and we're going to be crossing our fingers, empty nesters come summer. Yes, can't wait. Finally, about time. But anyways, I still have one left. It's the toughest one. But I had, I think it was Christmas. Yeah, Christmas weekend. The weekend before Christmas. We had started doing our take a break for the hosts so that they'll be fully charged and ready to go facing 2013. I had actually intended to do a great end of the world, didn't happen kind of podcast, but it was not in the cards. I had hurt myself. That's what happens when you have snow and ice. And pretty much you don't want to talk to anybody when you're in pain. But tonight is going to be a great show. But I want to start it with some news. Not any kind of ordinary news. This is Prepper Podcast kind of news. This is the kind of news that you need to be aware of what's going on out there. It's not a pretty world. Okay, we didn't have the end of the world, but what we do have is a bunch of bad people. What kind of bad people? People that think that they can screw you out of your money and make it seem like that's okay. Now, I found this article, this solicitation a couple weeks back. I think it was like December 18th or something like that. And what they were looking for, it was the Department of Homeland Security, DHS, Big Sis, whatever you want to call her. I'm sure a lot of people call her names. But it seemed Big Sis wanted to have money. Or, bullets. What else is new? Bullets are what they thrive upon. So I did a story on this because $200,000 up front, almost immediately, is what they're looking for. Unusual, very small amount for them, and it's for the Federal Law Enforcement Training Center. When FLETC, that's pronounced how you call it, order something, it's generally in a bulk kind of thing. They'll want 200,000, 40 caliber, 180 grain jacketed hollow point is what this was. But they'll include, we want some 1.5 ounce of slugs, 12 gauge slugs, some 16 gauge slugs, 45 photo metal jacket. You get the idea. But that was just this. And this is, we're practically, we are broke. We're so freaking broke we can't even see tomorrow. If it cost us a dime to go potty, we'd have to fart for free. We're that broke, okay? So they want to order more ammunition. It's just stupid. So I did an article on that, and it was the preparing for civil war, going over the fiscal cliff by ordering more ammunition or something like that. But this article, this solicitation was awarded, and I was like, well, okay. I wouldn't have thought anything about it. Seriously. The thing that did it for me, though, was the name of the company. Evian Group, Inc. E-V-I-A-N Group, I-N-C. Well, if you've been well-traveled and have been to several different countries, actually, if you're smarter than a box of rocks, you would realize that Evian is the word naive backwards. So I started this article Naive, extremely simple and trusting, having or showing an excessively simple and trusting view of the world and human nature, often as a result of youth and inexperience. 1. Not shrewd or sophisticated, showing a lack of sophistication or subtlety and or of critical judgment and analysis. Or 2. Artless, admirably straightforward and uncomplicated or refreshingly innocent and unaffected. In essence, childlike. Synonym: simple, trusting, innocent, childlike, inexperienced, ingenuous, and guileless. Okay. That was the intro, but let me read the article here to you. On the 18th of December 2012, I wrote a story about how the Department of Homeland Security had requested through FLETC an order of 200,000 rounds of 180 grain jacketed hollow point ammunition, despite the fact that FLETC orders more ammunition than a human could possibly expend in a lifetime. And to be quite frank, these solicitations are very tiresome because we ask questions and no one seems to have any answers. But once in a while you fall onto a nugget that makes this task seem less Sisyphean and more of a worthy calling. Sisyphus was a man who was punished for his pride by forcing his punishment in eternity, in Tartarus, was to push a huge rock up a hill. And just before he got to the very top of the flat part, it would roll all the way back down. And at night he would be put into a pool of water, and every time he reached for the food, the grapes or whatnot, the food would move away, and if he tried to take a drink of water, the water level would sink, so he could never get any water, no food, no rest. That's a Sisyphean task, is one that is just simply impossible to complete. That was an aside here. Now, in reviewing the reward granted to the winner of this contract, I see that the American taxpayer is again the loser. We'll add up the tally later. The winner of this is Evian Group, Inc., located at 105 Southeastern Avenue, Las Vegas, Nevada. Well, congratulations, Evian Group. You've shown the federal government what it means to be naive. It seems that the Evian Group was formed on December 12th, just 5 days before the announcement of this solicitation. And on here I show from the Secretary of State, I did a screen grab of the Evian Group, formed 12-12-12, domestic corporation, which means it's within the state of Nevada. Grace Hodge is the registered agent. That means the one who's responsible for the filing. Number, it's $20 per share. And let's see here. The principals are Roman Tharp, he's the treasurer, secretary Scott Rogan, president is Lorraine Whitehead, and director is Grace Hodge. Now, these all show the 105 Southeastern Avenue, Las Vegas. Okay. Now, we know that they did it 5 days before the contract was open. That's unusual. Okay, because a brand new startup company just happened to win an ammunition contract. Had to be small business, that's fine, but they won it. Now the contract was for, but wait, there's more. The contract is for 200,000 rounds, was 45,758, which boils down to about 21 cents per round. And to be quite honest, that's a really good price, as in unheard of good price. So 2 websites for use comparison, luckygunner.com and ammoengine.com. All right, now 1,000 rounds of Federals, what they're looking for is 46 cents per round. And then on the jacketed hollow point, it is 80 cents per round on Ammo Engine. You get the idea? This seems to be a little unusual. Very unusual. So, now the address provided to the DHS, because that's what they used, and the Secretary of State is 105 Southeastern Avenue. So I took a look at Google Maps and actually did the Street View to take a look, see what's there. Now you take a look what's there, and you'll see that 105 Southeastern, that's the direction is south, the name of the street is Eastern Avenue, doesn't even exist. The closest thing is 111, and that's a parking lot for a bodega. I think it's a bodega. A bodega is a market. At least that's what it looks like from the street corner here. Now what you see is the street corner of East Fremont Street and the intersection of Northeastern Avenue and Southeastern Avenue. On the opposite side of the street is an Arco gas station. Does anyone see a business? I need to edit that one. Does anyone see a business capable of providing 200,000 rounds of jacketed hollow points to the federal government? There's not even a mailbox, etc., to accept mail. 105 Southeastern Avenue looks like a parking lot for a bodega. The Linson principals, Grace Hodges and Lorraine Whitehead, are director and president respectively. Nowhere they can be found attached to Evian Group Inc., which is unusual as the whole purpose of running the business is to create a steady stream of revenue. They cannot be found on LinkedIn, where people network to get more business, or even as Google as a website. EvianGroup.com is parked by GoDaddy for a future site, and BraveNet is hosting EvianGroup.net. Furthermore, no property or telephone records exist for principals. These people do not seem to exist. All right? They may exist in other states, but they don't exist in Nevada, and that's the whole idea behind a domestic corporation. It would be a foreign corporation if they were, say, like California. In reviewing the Dunn and Bradstreet record, when the telephone number was called, it's not a business line, but a rather unusual phrase was used. Please download line 2. So the question of the moment is this. Is this a payoff to a mobster or someone of less than honest intent? Or is this graft for Harry Reid, the incumbent senator for Nevada? But as usual, the truth will stay hidden because the government is not for the people, but against the people. Not of the people, but of special interest. And it's certainly not by the people, because we know the difference from right and wrong. And as long as evil stays in power, the nation, once mighty, will pass into the annals of history as a mere footnote. So that is a story I thought y'all might want to look at. And it has been heavily linked all throughout creation. So take a look at it and give me your 2 cents worth. All right, so let's talk about the topic du jour. Now, we all know that you can't live in Frostbite Falls, where I live, and really be able to have a good long growing season. And some of the best tricks you can do is there's a lot of tricks you can do to extend your growing season if you live somewhere cold. And that's perfectly fine. This is a good thing. Why? Because the longer you have a growing season, the more opportunity you have for indeterminate plants, peas, beans, tomatoes, etc., to grow more crops. Let's take tomatoes, for example, because everybody loves Maters. And my wife just loves Mater, the character. And she thinks he's pretty cool. Okay. So what can we do to extend our growing season? Well, we've looked at cold frames. We've looked at plastic culture. But let's look at something that is something a little more unusual. And we're going to take a point from people who learn how to do this for profit. Yeah, you're going to love this. Now, Rush Limbaugh once said, if you want to save Flipper, eat Flipper. The idea is if you want to protect something, to make it profitable, to make it worthwhile, you need to make it consumable. So what he was thinking is if you want to, save Flipper, then basically you need to farm dolphins, make them available for feeding, make them, food, meat. We do that with buffalo. Why not dolphins? Anyways, so we're going to talk to people. We're going to use their information of those that have used this to make profit. And those people are marijuana growers. What I'm talking about is hydroponics. Now, hydroponics gives you a couple different opportunities to do something seriously outside the box. Absolutely seriously. Now, you may think that this is a complex setup. It isn't. It's actually pretty darn easy. Simply put, a plastic coffee can, some liquid nutrient, a air bubbler for a fish tank, and one of those plastic pilot cups with some holes in the bottom and some marbles, and your plant. And you can grow a plant in all that. It probably cost you tops $10 for this whole setup. Maybe 20 because you have to count for the coffee. But you can, seriously, you can do this with an empty fish tank. You could use that empty fish tank in order to grow plants, to germinate them. It's really very simple. So let's take a look at what needs to be done. All right, what we're going to be doing now is we're going to take a look at the different kinds of hydroponic gardenings. Now, I'm going to go through this website called hydroponics.net. I'm going to use their information. Now, hydroponics is proved to have several advantages over soil gardening. The growth rate on a hydroponic plant is 30 to 50% faster than a soil plant grown under the same conditions. The yield is also greater. Scientists believe that there are several reasons for the drastic differences between hydroponic and soil. The extra oxygen in the hydroponic growing mediums help to stimulate root growth. Plants with ample oxygen in the root system also absorb nutrients faster. The nutrients in a hydroponic system are mixed with water and sent directly to the root system. The plant does not have to search in the soil for the nutrients that it requires. These nutrients are being delivered to the plant several times per day. The hydroponic plant requires very little energy to find and break down food. The plant then uses this saved energy to grow faster and produce more fruit. Hydroponic plants have fewer problems with bug infestations, funguses, and disease. In general, plants hydroponically are healthier and happier plants, just because they make little smiles. But one of the things by bug infestations and funguses and disease is that a healthy person can fight off these things, so can a healthy plant. Now, hydroponic gardening uses considerably less water than soil gardening because the constant reuse the nutrient solutions. Due to the lack of necessity, fewer pesticides are used, and because there is no topsoil, there is no erosion. Now, where does this come into you? As I've said before, we're becoming empty nesters, so we have a couple empty rooms. So we can actually grow, believe it or not, plants in the wintertime. Not just any kind of plants. I'm talking whatever I want. Do I want indeterminate tomato plants? Sure. Indeterminate means that when you plant them, okay, stop first. Determinate means that they grow. For about 2 to 3 weeks, they produce fruit, and that's it. You got nothing after that. They don't need staking. They're more bush type. Think like huckleberries. Okay? You got a huckleberry bush, you got huckleberries, and that's it. No more huckleberries until next year. Now, with indeterminate, it's like VD. Okay? As long as the conditions are right, it can continue to produce. All right? It will reproduce. It will process. So, I'm sorry, that's a horrible thing, but I had this weird thought one night as I was working. It's like, I bet ancient Rome would be a really horrible place to live because everybody is touching everything. Nobody's using soap and water. And I'll bet you there's tons of VD on people's hands. And the OCD in me went, yeah. So I was thinking about that. So yes, indeterminate plants are like VD. As long as the conditions are right, they will continue to produce. What are the conditions? Enough lighting. Okay, that's the biggie. And temperatures. So you're thinking, I've got a bedroom and I got to keep it at 80 degrees? No, actually you don't. You can keep it at 70. You can keep it at 60. You can keep it at, if you're doing, not tomatoes, you can keep it at 50. They're good with 50 degrees. Peas, beans, beans. Peas for sure. Beans, maybe not. Broccoli, cauliflower, cabbage. Oh, what else? Any of your flowers. Those are all be cold weather. Lettuce grows great in this. In fact, I'm looking outside, and right now it's above 30 degrees. If I scrape some snow off right now on my gardens right now, and I took some lettuce seeds, there's a 97% chance these seeds will germinate at 32 degrees Fahrenheit. So just because it's winter doesn't mean you can't have greens. Just remember that. You plant some seeds in November for lettuce and kale. Kale loves the snow. You're going to have lettuce and kale in a few weeks. All right, so let's get back to hydroponics. So we could grow something in one of the bedrooms. We just need a grow light. We need a timer on that grow light. And we need to determine how we're going to do this. There are 4 different ways of growing things hydroponically. Now, there is, I don't like that one. There's something called the ebb and flow hydroponic system. It's an active recovery. So basically, it uses a submersible pump in the reservoir. So what we have in this system is we have, like, say, a piece of PVC pipe. They call for 4-inch. You can probably get away with 3-inch on some plants. Let's say, so a 4-inch, 10-foot long plant. You don't want 10 foot, make it 5 foot. I don't care. Put a cap on one end, put a cap on the other end. Now on this, you'll need 2 holes, 2 tubes. One is at the very bottom. It's at the 6 o'clock position. That tube is where the nutrients come out of and into the system. All right. The next thing you're going to need at about the 9 o'clock position is a tube that leads back down into your nutrient tank. So it fills up, and when it hits that particular level, it runs back down. After a few minutes, the pump stops, okay, and then it will drain out through that pump. What are we growing our stuff in? Well, as I said before, you can use a pilot cup. You know, these plastic drinking cups. You get a soldering gun, and you put holes about every half inch along the bottom 2 inches. All right, and then you put about 3-inch hole in your PVC pipe. You can use the square foot gardening method on this. If it's supposed to be every 6 inches apart, you can do them every 6 inches apart up on center. And then you put your cup in there, and then you can use some small rock. You can use something called rock wool, ROCKWOOL. And then, I mean, you can germinate with rock wool as well. You can put this in there, and you put marbles in, as long as it's pH balanced. This pH is really big. And you put your plant in here, and then you put it down into that water, or where it's going to get the water, the nutrient, and then you move on to your next one. The marbles or rocks or whatever you're going to use help support the plant, keep it upright. And then you do this for every single thing. Now, there's something called net pots. Net pots are used, they're specifically designed for hydroponics. They're, 3-inch, 6-inch, that type of thing. So you put your plant in this, and then your timer goes off. They may say 5 minutes per hour, or it needs 5 minutes every 2 hours. So your pump goes for 5 minutes, turns off for an hour and 55 minutes. Now that's one particular way. Now, the only thing that I'm going to tell you changes is going to be the way the material gets into the plants. Okay, so that is called the ebb and flow. Now let's see. During the flood cycle, oxygen-poor air is pushed out of the root systems by the upward movement nutrient solution. As the nutrient solution drains back into the reservoir, oxygen-rich air is pulled into the growing medium. This will allow the roots ample oxygen to maximize the nutrient intake. Let's see. Rock wool and grow rocks are most commonly used growing mediums in ebb and flow type systems. This is low maintenance yet highly effective form of hydroponic gardening. All right. Now, the next one is nutrient film. Is an active recovery type hydroponic system. Again, using submersible pumps and reusing nutrient solutions. 2 things about these nutrient solutions. 1, keep them in the dark. They'll grow algae. 2, try to keep them as cool as possible. Plants like it about 60 degrees. All right, and you need to change it about once a week. Now, this nutrient film technique is also known as NFT. It uses a reservoir with a submersible pump that pumps the nutrient solution into a grow tube where the roots are suspended, this PVC pipe. The grow tube is at a slight downward angle, so the nutrient solution runs over the roots and back into the reservoir. So at the other end of that PVC, you've got your hose, and it runs back to the nutrient tank. Okay, the nutrient solution flows over the roots up to 24 hours per day. All right, that's how that works on that one. Now, the one's continuous drip. Basically, it's like the nutrient film. It constantly runs, and it uses just a little bit of water. It's the same water. It's just a little bit gets on the very top. Instead of going from the bottom, like with these net cups, it's going on the top with little drips. There's another one called the deep well. What's it called? Deep well. I'm trying to find it now. Hold on one sec. Now the easiest one, the one I explained to you with the coffee cup, or the coffee can, this is called, like, I want to say it's Deep Well Reservoir, but I'll make sure I get the right one here, because it's deep water culture. Okay, now deep water culture is basically, you can use a tote, like a PVC tote, and then you would put your plants in there. You fill up enough water so the plants are constantly in the water. Okay, a couple inches in the water, and then you have a couple of the bubblers for the fish tank. Now at Walmart, I saw one for $10, $11. It supported up to 6 stones, so you could get 6 lines and 6 stones in this one tote, and so you're going to have some very oxygenated water. That's okay. Oxygenated water is good. That's the most important thing. All right, so that is the deep well, or excuse me, the deep water culture. It's pretty darn cool. Now, with this method, the plants grow much faster because of the high amount of oxygen that the roots receive. Now, you can mix and match this until the cows come home. So let's say you want to do germination. Well, you can do germination with a deep water culture. All right, and so that's what we're going to do. Is we're going to take a fish tank, and we're going to get some foam, styrofoam. We're going to cut some holes out. We're going to put our little rock wool into these little, say like the 4-ounce Dixie cup, the plastic ones, and we put our seeds in there. And as long as the stuff gets wet, just the rock wool gets wet, okay, it'll get the moisture. All right, and then as it grows, the plants will send out their roots, and it'll get right where it needs to be. See how easy it is? Now let's kick this up a notch. Let's think way outside the box. You've got this fish tank. Just as an example, I'm using fish tank. You can use it for doing germination. I don't care what you do for germination. You can even germinate something in the dirt and then plant it after you rinse all the dirt off. With you can plant it hydroponically. You can germinate dirt, grow hydroponically. That's perfectly fine. Get rid of the dirt. Very important. And remember, these plants are tender, so be very, very gentle. Now let's kick this thing up a notch. Take a deep breath in. Take a deep breath out. What did you just do? You did something called gas transference. You inhaled oxygen, and that oxygen went into your red blood cells, and what you exhaled, the stored carbon dioxide, got jetted out. You exhaled it. Plants do basically the same thing. During the day, they are grabbing carbon dioxide, and at night they release the oxygen that they produce. Plants need carbon dioxide. Why? And you would say, well, obvious, that's how they make sugar for growth, because that's what they do. They convert CO2 into, what is it, C6H12O6, okay, which is glucose, and that's what they need. And there's a whole chain, kind of like the Krebs cycle, and you don't want to know the Krebs cycle. Mr. Krebs' kid couldn't even figure out the Krebs cycle. That's how tough it is. But what plants need is sugar. How well do we grow when we have good nutrients, but when we have good air? So what we're going to do is we're going to give them extra carbon dioxide. This is giving them meth to grow. If there was any kind of growth serum, this is like steroids, giving plants steroids so they got big and meaty. So I saw one video. They had added some extra carbon dioxide at the germination process, just at the germination process, and it was like a week earlier than a dirt-based, or even it was all dirt-based, but no extra carbon dioxide germinated. It was incredible. So how do you do that? Well, making carbon dioxide is very simple. In fact, in a post-apocalyptic world, I showed you how to do it differently. What you're going to need is a cup of sugar, a cup of sugar, a cup of water, a tablespoon of hot water, and a tablespoon of yeast. You can use a teaspoon. Activate the yeast by putting in this warm tablespoon of water, okay, about 105 degrees. You'll know it's ready to go into the sugar water, and use warm water, when it starts to bubble. And then what you're going to do is you're going to take that and you're going to mix it in with the sugar water, or warm water, and you're going to shake it up. Now, at about an hour or so from then, you're going to see lots of bubbles. Now, all these bubbles have to go somewhere. So let's say you use a 2-liter bottle. Now, 2-liter bottle, if you use 2 cups of sugar, 2 cups of warm water, and let's say a tablespoon of yeast, and well, actually, it doesn't matter how much. You can still use the teaspoon of yeast. It just has a whole lot more to grow, and that's perfectly fine. That should last you 2 weeks. So take that tube of, you have your 2-liter bottle, punch a hole in the cap, run a tube to your plant, just right into your, well, actually they say put something in between, so run it into a 1-liter bottle that's filled with water. So make sure that that tube that from the yeast mix is in the water. Put another tube through the cap of the 1 liter, and then run it into your germination, however you germinate it. It could be one of those little plastic greenhouse things that you get from Walmart. You know, it's with the peat moss, or your fish tank hydroponic method. And for a week or two, this stuff is going to be producing extra carbon dioxide. Now, you can put this, let's say we're going to use the little grow domes from Walmart. You just put a hole right in the middle, and you put that hose right in there. Now, what's going to happen is the yeast is going to feed. When it feeds, it produces carbon dioxide. This carbon dioxide, through all these little bits of yeast, fungus, by the way, is going to go up into this first tube and go into the bottle of the 1 liter. All right. Now, why did we put it in the water? In the event there's any kind of extra weird moisture, it's going to get trapped in that first bottle. And then the carbon dioxide is going to be released through the water, and it's going to come out the top, and then it's going to feed right into where the plants are. So the plants are getting a lot more carbon dioxide. Now, that being said, 6 a.m., you go take a look at your plants, you lift up the lid, you go, "How you doing, little guys?" and you put the lid down. You've just given them some oxygen. You're doing is they're producing oxygen, but you're giving them some oxygen that they need. Okay, you're taking away some of the carbon dioxide so that they're not going to be too much carbon dioxide. You're not going to kill them. Too much meth is a bad thing. Any meth is bad. And then for the next 24 hours, this carbon dioxide is being put right into the greenhouse, and it's heavier than air, so it'll sink down to the bottom. And then, your 2 weeks when you're ready to plant or whatever, you just take them right out. You've got a good jump start. Now, we can't just stop there with our greenhouse, with our carbon dioxide. 2 ways you can go about this. You can still do this with dirt method. You can still do it with the hydroponic method. Let's talk about outside dirt, or if you're doing outside hydroponic, doesn't make any difference. Get a thing of the plastic tubing, the clear plastic tubing. And then every foot or so, put a small hole in it. Not too big. And to be really honest with you, whatever your distance is, I've got 20 foot to go. So what I'm going to do is at my 10-foot mark is where I'm going to put my carbon dioxide generator. And then that way I get a better equal distribution of carbon dioxide over that particular area that I'm trying to cover. And then you seal both ends. Seal one end, the end that you don't want air coming out of or carbon dioxide coming out of. And overnight, it will release oxygen, but there's still carbon dioxide coming into the area. They're getting a little bit extra carbon dioxide. Now, let's say you have an indoor situation. Even your houseplants would love this. If you're doing this in like a room and you have some petunias or gladiolas or whatever, you take the second hose that comes from the 1 liter bottle, and you put it right next to a fan, right on the back end of the fan blade, where it just kind of goes right where just before the plastic of the fan hits the tube. Put it there, because as the gas is coming out, it's being distributed throughout the whole area. And this is one way your plants inside can get a little extra. Now, the nice thing about the carbon dioxide generator is it's yeast. You can make yeast anytime. I showed you how to do it. Remember the friendship bread? So you'll have your yeast constantly. You're going to have some power needs for your lights. If you're going to be, in frostbite falls, sun sets around, 4:30 right now. So if you went from 6 a.m. to 6 p.m., that's 12 hours. So it's 2 hours extra. I mean, you're going to have an expense there. You're going to have your fan, and that's all you've got. All you really have to do is sit down and figure out is, what am I going to grow indoor? What am I going to grow outdoor? Now, I've been looking at some of the plants that I want to get in particular, because we had a really weird summer. It was really hot. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to get wilt-resistant beans, peas, whatever else. Anything that says wilt-resistant in the books, I'm going to get. Or I'll Google whatever I need to get. The tomatoes we're going to be getting is really important. Now, I found a couple good ones. One, I don't know what the name is, but I saw it in the catalog of tomatoes. It looked like tomato heaven. A tomato expert would have a hard time identifying all of these tomatoes. But one in particular sat on top of a bell jar. It could not fit inside the bell jar. It was like a bell pepper. It was kind of lobed like that, and it was. It was about the same height as that bell jar. It's a huge freaking tomato. Another one I'm going to be getting is that one I'm going to do hydroponically. I'm going to grow those hydroponically if they're indeterminate. Okay. Well, even if they aren't indeterminate, I can still grow the dirt ones. But the ones that I'm going to do next are mortgage lifters. Mortgage, like with your houses. Now, this particular type of tomato was started back in the 30s. It was a hybrid, not genetically modified. It's a hybrid. It has reached weights of 6 pounds. Now, some books say 1 to 2 pounds. Some books say 4 to 6. So I'm thinking if I also did some of these hydroponically, I could actually hit 4 to 6 pound tomatoes. And you're going, well, those are huge tomatoes. Yes, but they don't get woody and they're very flavorful, according to the books. Why am I thinking of these large tomatoes? Well, one, I need to have a lot of tomatoes because we go through a lot of tomato sauce. And that is the biggie. Now, imagine if you could, if you were to a farmer's market and you had, say, 50 of these plants, just as an example, and you sold some of these tomatoes, and you sold them by the pound, and you said $1 a pound, so you've got 6 pound tomatoes. That's a lot of tomato. And then the last thing we're going to be doing is some cherry tomatoes. Now, my thought is I want bulk, like the bell pepper ones. I want flavor, like in mortgage lifters, and I want sweetness with the cherry tomatoes. See how that works? That's how you make, to me, the perfect tomato sauce. Now, hydroponics can be done, as I said, 24/7 in the comfort of your home. But what you really want to look for, remember now, are indeterminate plants. Some of the plants that grow great year-round, look for that. If you live in somewhere frosty, like Frostbite Falls, let's say, for example, you're looking at peppers, not peppers, but herbs. You can grow herbs hydroponically. You can use the deep well method, and that way it's really simple. It's a no-brainer. You can use just a small garden tote. In fact, you don't have to use a full-size Rubbermaid. You can use one of the smaller ones or even the under-the-bed kind of storage, and just change the fluids out once a week. Ta-da! See how hard that is? It really isn't that hard. Now, that's all I've got for today. Now, in the next upcoming weeks, I've got a camouflage gardener and a gunsmith. And I really need to do is find somebody who does reloading. If you know somebody who does reloading, I'd like to have them on. I like to know what it takes, and they can educate me because I like being educated. Okay, everybody. I hope everybody has a fantastic weekend, or what's left of it. And somewhere along the lines, BG and I are going to go have coffee probably later tonight. We like to go have coffee at a local diner. It closes at 11, so we kind of have to plan ahead on that. I will be back next week, and I hope everybody has a fantastic night. All right, bye-bye.
Are you sick and tired of having your First Amendment harassed or censored on Facebook? Use no more, as we now have a new alternative to Facebook. It's called Awareness Act. Awareness Act is a social network designed for patriots, to be used by patriots, and is ran by patriots. Stand up and help in the fight to protect your constitutional rights. Patriots can create pages, blogs, videos, documents, articles, and so much more. We even have a unique news feed system that allows you to share, read, or connect with any patriot on Awareness Act. We are a dedicated tool for patriots to use against the tyranny our Constitution is facing. So if you're tired of having your rights infringed upon, come check us out at www.awarenessact.com. Again, that is www.awarenessact.com, the social network for patriots, not potatoes.
Whether you take me for the fool, I know that I can be. Whether you see me eye to eye.
The new Be Prepared for Christmas package from Sun Ovens contains everything you need to harness the power of the sun for cooking, water, and dehydrating. The perfect gift for the preppers or outdoor enthusiast on your shopping list. A sun oven uses the sun's power to bake, boil, or steam food, heat water for purification or personal hygiene, or solar dehydrate. When you use the sun's power on sunny days, you preserve your fuel storage for rainy days. Sun-baked foods retain moisture, have less shrinkage, and do not burn. Sun-baked roasts are tastier and more succulent, and sun-baked bread has unparalleled taste and texture. The new Be Prepared for Christmas package lets you roast an 18-pound turkey. For the past 26 years, Sun Ovens has been proudly made in the U.S., are durable, and have a long life and come with a 100% satisfaction guarantee. Don't be fooled by cheap imitations. For a discount coupon, visit sunoven.com/podcast. That's sunoven.com/podcast.
This is KPRN-DB. Broadcasting worldwide from Southeast Oklahoma, USA to parts unknown.